Welcome to the Faster, Easier, Better show with your hosts LeeSilber and Ellen Goodwin.
Welcome to another episode of the Faster, Easier, Better show. I'm your co-host, Ellen Goodwin, along with my co-host.
Who am I?
I believe you're LeeSilber, but we're going to find out. We are well into 160 something episodes, and we thought it'd be kind of fun to interview each other and find out a little bit more about who we are, why we do what we do, and get to know each other. So today I am going to interview Lee. Are you ready?
No.
These are not in-depth questions.
Are they gotcha questions?
There's no gotcha. So we've probably talked about it before. Lee and I met in art school back in the late 1980s. We were much, much younger then. So why art school, Lee?
Whew, that is kind of a gotcha question. I'll be not that I wouldn't be honest, but I'll be honest. It was more about finishing something I started. And so as it relates to education, I thought, well, I finished high school. I should throw that in there. And then I went to junior college and was a business major and was studying. I remember my early class were economics and accounting and some other things. And it just couldn't quite get it. Like I'd read it over and over again. It wouldn't sink. And I was struggling, to be honest with you. And so I figured, what am I good at? What do I love doing? And I saw that I could go to art school and get a degree just like I would with a regular school, four-year college. So that's what I did. It was the best decision I ever made. I finished because I loved it. It was great. It was something that I was good at. I enjoyed doing it. And it was, I thought for me, I used the skills all the time. It was great. And the fact that I finished that started a whole ripple effect, or the beginning of finishing, the beginning of the ending of a lot of things. I started seeing things through more, which I thought once you get good at saying, all right, no matter what, I'm going to see this through, and you've done it once, you can replicate it easier in the future.
So how long after art school did you start writing books?
Well, I owned a chain of surf shop. This is a short story, but I owned a chain of surf shops, and part of what we did is we gave you bring in your good grades, we give you a t-shirt or some other products, which we got from our supplier. So it didn't even cost us anything. And then one of the area principals heard about this and came in the store, and she's like, wow, this is great. Why don't you come to speak at Career Day? Because you have an unusual career path, and not every student is going to go to a four-year college and make their path that way. So she, little did I know, she's like, no other speaker has ever made it all the way through the assembly because the kids are ruthless. I stood on stage. She's like, well, there's an exit over there, just so you know. Don't worry, if you want to bail, you can bail. But it turns out actually, because it was great. So at the end, she said, yeah, you were really good at that. I said, why did you choose me to be a Career Day speaker? She said, well, I think that the students need to hear from small businessmen like you. And I said, well, actually, my business is kind of big. She said, no, but you are small.
I was going to say, you're small.
You are small. And small people don't scare the kids. Plus, they could relate to me. I skateboarded in on stage. And so that led me to say, you know what? This is something I'd like to do more of. I really wanted to be a rock star. So this is as close as I'm going to get, as being on a stage with an audience clapping and whatnot. And so someone said, if you really want to be a speaker and make a living at it, you need to write a book.
Okay.
And so I thought, Mark Twain said, write what you know about. So what do I know about? I'm a little 21-year-old. I wrote The Guide to Dating in San Diego. And I was able to illustrate it and do it myself. It was a really fun book to write and research. And so that's a long answer to a short question. That was my first book, and the book went into like four printings. It did really, really well.
Wow.
In fact, I couldn't get rid of that brand for a while. Like, oh, he's the dating guy. But I was married at that point. I'm like, no, I'm married now. I don't want to be the dating guy anymore.
But after the dating books, you started writing the Right Brain books. Is that right?
I wrote a couple. Well, one way to we talked about this before. One quick way to get to know a lot of people is to find the person that knows everyone and get to know them. But I also thought I do want to know some of them. So my next book was called Successful San Diegans. And I went around and interviewed the most successful people in San Diego, which built my stock up. I got friendly with a lot of them. I even went into the nicest part of town. I wrote a letter saying, hey, I'm writing this book about successful people. I'd love to interview you and buy you breakfast. And I put it on the fancy, fancy cars. And that's how I got my mentor. He's like, wow. You got some nerve. I want to meet this guy. And he was at my wedding. I still see him all the time. Joseph Oppenheimer. He's my mentor and score counselor and just a great guy. But it all started with that book led me to meet all these famous people and successful people. And that kind of launched my career.
That's awesome. Okay. Next question. What's your favorite quote?
I'm going to go with, I have a lot of them. My favorite, I want to say a quote that I can't quite get it exactly, but it's summarizing it. It's by Steve Jobs, and it applies to today's world. He said, sometimes when things change in a big way, the best people, the smartest people, the successful people see opportunity. And I thought, ooh, that's a good word to live by. But even deeper and beyond that, it's Zig Ziglar who said, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And I've always been. Seth Godin is one of my favorite authors, and I think it was called Permission Marketing was his book. And it's basically, you have to give and give and give before you ask for anything in return. So that's always been my philosophy. I'm going to help you. And when it comes to talking about yourself, selling yourself, if you come from a place of, I really want to help you. I'm not asking for anything in return. I just want to teach you, help you, guide you, whatever. It's so much easier to talk about whatever you're promoting, whatever you're working on, because it's not about you, it's about them. And that's about them. That stems from Zig Ziglar's quote.
Okay, last question.
How am I doing?
You're doing great. You're doing great. All right, last question. What's your favorite book that you haven't written? You did not.
Haven't written?
No, you did not write.
Well, I do read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie once a year, every year, as a refresher course. Some of those the lessons in there are just so valuable. But as it relates to what we do with efficiency and time management, I'm looking at my bookshelf. That's why I'm thinking, well, I can't use one of my books because that's a bummer, because that would be so easy. I'm kidding.
No.
Well, I guess it goes back to Zig Ziglar again, See You at the Top. I always loved that book, and the fact that he was just such a positive person, and he inspired other people to see the positive in even the most negative situations, and to find a way to turn it around. And so I just feel at this point, a lot of us are struggling, and I know it's a couple years from now, we'll just remember this as a blip, and not a blip, but a place in time. But hopefully we appreciate things more. We are able to do things that we never did before. I mean, we're all masters of Zoom now. At least you are.
We are.
So it's, in a way, the end result will be something positive. And that's his thing. Positivity from negativity.
Awesome. Thank you, Lee, for being my interview today. And hopefully our listeners who have been with us for a long time have learned a little bit more about you. Remember to subscribe, like, and review this podcast, and be with us again next week for another episode of the Faster, Easier, Better Show.